Most of the information that we're going to cover today is available on the internet. The state puts out a bulletin of what's going on in the state of Illinois. And a lot of the data that you're going to see today is from the 2010 annual report, as 2011 is not quite right. My first question to you, if I give you the choice of 25, 50, or 75%, what percentage of districts in Illinois do you believe have ELL programs?
25.
Okay. If we look at the stats, because we always like to go back to the stats. In 2005, there were 267 programs in Illinois, okay, in the districts. And so almost 4,800 teachers were employed in some type of ESL training, okay? In 2010, that number jumped to 579, notice the bottom bullet, out of 1,100. It's over 50%. Okay. Unfortunately, if you're from an area that doesn't have a lot of diversity, sometimes our ideas of what ESL population is actually in the state is a little skewed. Okay? We actually have over 50% of districts in the state of Illinois that offer some type of ESL programming. Okay? We're going to talk about those different kinds of programming and what the schools actually have to require versus what they may opt to do. And there are two distinctions there. Okay? If you notice though, 8,000 teachers have been employed that have an ESL approval or endorsement or bilingual approval or endorsement. And we'll talk about the differences between those two and what is the difference between endorsement and approval. Okay, I can tell you that one really quick. Endorsement means the state has sent you a separate letter, it's on your certificate that says, I did all the coursework. The approval, they send it to you in a letter format. Okay, there's no difference. You complete the same coursework. One's simply called an approval, one's called an endorsement. Does it matter to a district which one you have? No. As long as you've completed the coursework and the state acknowledges that you have completed the coursework, you are good. Whether you complete a certification type of endorsement or an approval letter. So that brings us to the next question of, will your school have ELL? Yeah, probably. Probably. If you do not have an actual program, you may still have students in your school who need ESL services. Okay. And those students we would call English language learners, ELL. The state also uses another term, LEP, Limited English Proficient. I like the term ELL a lot better. It's so negative as Limited English Proficient. But in documentation, you might see students referred to as Limited English Proficient, LEP students. Okay? Just so you know it's out there. If you take a look, you see the Illinois Code requires one of two programs. And these are the two granddaddies of everything we're going to talk about today. Okay? A TBE, which is a Transitional Bilingual Education Program, or a TPI, a Transitional Program of Instruction. And there is a very distinct difference between these two. Okay? TBE is required by districts who have a certain population size. TPI, districts may choose if they have a smaller population size. Okay. These are the different types of services that are available, and we are going to talk about each one today. Okay. You can see some of them kind of sound very similar, such as the content area tutoring versus content-based ELL. All right. In those two areas, when we talk about students K-12, because again, ESL is going to talk about students K-12, not just preschool, not just elementary school, middle school. It puts everyone together. Okay. They do have stats that will divide it out, but in general speaking terms, everybody is under one umbrella called ESL. So when we talk about things like content area tutoring and content-based ESL, we sometimes see those a little bit more as we get older. Okay. So when we're talking specifically having tutoring or pull-out services for math or for reading, sometimes those can be geared towards our older grade students because they are getting more specific into those content areas. Okay. But if you take a look, we have a few things that look similar. We have things called heritage language versus two-way immersion versus transitional bilingual. And if none of these terms are making sense to you yet, that's okay, that's why you're here today. Okay? Any or a mixture of these services could be provided by a single district. So you might have a variety of different programs going on in different buildings within your district, because here's that other piece. It's based on the number of students in an attendance center. So if I have a big influx of, say, third graders, that elementary school is going to have to provide ESL services. But if in a different building, I don't have that many students of a certain language, that building may not offer those services. It's very specific to where the children are located within the district. Okay? If you notice, there's one word that is not on this list, and that's because we've kind of changed how it's identified in programming. If you recall, the title of this session was Pull Out, Push In, Immersion. If you look on here, push in isn't necessarily a term that's used to identify a certain program anymore. Because push in has really become like the inclusionary support. So the students are in the classroom and an ESL aide might come in, or a bilingual tutor might come into the classroom. Okay? So you're going to see push in a variety of different settings here as well. But you're not necessarily going to see the term push in within a program. However, it is on your bingo sheet, so you should know. Okay. If you take a look at the stats, 55%, 0.5% of the population was in a basic transitional bilingual program. That would be that TBE, that big umbrella one, okay? And we're going to hit the definition for that in just a second. But second highest on the list is a self-contained classroom. Self-contained comes in at 36%, meaning I've got a group of students who I've taken and put in one classroom to service their ESL needs. So I'm not doing pull out, push in, nothing. This is my classroom, and it is a classroom for ESL. It may be of a single language, it may be of 10 different languages that have all come together to receive specific ESL instruction. Okay? But they would be in that classroom a large portion of the day. Okay, so here's your TBE, and this is your big umbrella. This dates back to 1973, when the state passed the school code that said for a district that has more than 20, okay, 20 or more, ELL students of the same language classification, and there's a key word, classification, are enrolled in the same attendance center, TBE must be offered. Okay, transitional bilingual education. And what they have to do within this TBE program, they must provide instruction in the home language of students and in English in the required subject areas, and provide ESL instruction. So there's a few things that the district must provide. And sometimes this can get a little difficult if you don't have any native speakers who are certified or endorsed in ESL. Okay. At the very end of the presentation today, I'm going to ask you what you think are the 5 or 6 top languages in the state of Illinois that our students are speaking. You might be able to guess the first. The others might be very interesting to you. They surprised me when I looked at the data from 2010. We'll see how good you can do on those. So start thinking about what languages you think might be most prevalent. Okay? Because if I've got a TBE, I really need speakers who speak the languages that the students in my school building are speaking. Okay? To get an ESL endorsement, you do not have to be proficient in a language. To get a bilingual endorsement, you do. You have to test out at proficiency. Okay? But for an ESL endorsement, you do not have to have a second language. An ESL endorsement would mean that you have the skills and strategies, you know the methodologies of teaching things like second language acquisition. That you know how to get students moving from home language to English. Okay? So that's the difference between your ESL and your bilingual. If you take a look though, this is going to be true also of TPI programs. Teachers are required to be certified by the state of Illinois and possess bilingual or ESL endorsement/approval. Because remember, endorsement/approval, it's the same thing, it's just how it's notated on paper. Okay? Bilingual teachers must demonstrate proficiency in the language and in English. And that's one of the keys. Simply because you speak the language that the students are speaking, the non-English language, you do also need to be proficient in English. Okay? So you can't simply be proficient in the child's first language. You must be proficient both ways. Okay? So that's transitional bilingual. Our other big umbrella is TPI, Transitional Program of Instruction. Okay? Again, we go back to that attendance center. 19 or fewer. If you notice on your bingo sheets, the word numbers 19 and 20 might be there. There's a clue. Okay? If I don't have 20 people, I can choose to offer a TPI program instead of the TBE. So you could probably already guess in your mind, TPI doesn't necessarily have the same requirements as TBE. It's a little bit easier. Okay? Because again, I have fewer students, so I don't necessarily have as many services that I might be provided. But TPI programs must include instruction or other assistance in the student's home language. But notice this next line. To the extent necessary is determined by the student's level of English proficiency. Okay? In a TBE, I probably have programs ready to go in place that are at all different levels of proficiency. In a TPI program, I'm pretty much going in and evaluating my students and seeing where they're at and then structuring that program to meet their needs. Okay? So I might have some students who are at the beginning of knowledge of English. I might have some students who really have exited program and are at that level 6, we're going to talk about levels. Level 6 reaching, meaning that they're good to go. They're really proficient in English. So I'm going to base my TPI program on the needs of the actual students I have in my building. And I'm probably going to be preparing that as the year goes on. Okay? If you take a look, TPI services may include, but are not limited to, instruction in ESL, language arts in the home language, history of the student's native land and the United States. And again, here's your big key. Like TBE teachers, TPI must hold teacher certification and endorsement for whatever your teaching assignment might be. Okay. Needless to say, everybody's got to be certified. Everybody needs to have that. So how does the state actually identify ELL? When a student comes to your district for the first time, every student is given a home language survey to fill out. Okay? These are for all newly enrolled students. There's the key. So whether they come in at kindergarten because they're just transitioning into the schools, the parents will fill out the form when they enter kindergarten. If you have someone who moves in 7th grade, they're still going to fill out this form. Because the form basically just asks what languages are spoken at home. Is a different language used with the child in the home? Because again, this is just an identification piece. It's used to identify those students who may at some point need ESL services. And if the answer is yes, the screening must take place within 30 days after the student enrolls in the district to determine their eligibility. Okay? So we give the home language survey. If it comes back as a yes, there is another language that's spoken in home. Within 30 days of the start of the school year, every child who had a yes needs to be screened to see where they fit into the ESL spectrum. Okay? 30 days. We don't want to wait longer than 30 days. Otherwise, we might be jeopardizing their instruction. So again, this is one of those times of the essence pieces. And so we have folks who are going to do the testing within your building to check and see where they're at. Each student scoring as not proficient, as defined by the state, is considered an ELL student eligible for services. And that means, yes, you must provide services as a district. All right, so what types of programs do we have? We're going to start running through that list now. If you have questions, let me know. Okay. Newcomer Center. A lot of districts up north, okay, are starting to use newcomer centers. But newcomer centers are not necessarily like your self-contained classroom in the fact that newcomer centers, they may not stay there for very long. A newcomer center is for recent immigrants with gaps in their education. They're going to receive ESL, acculturation, and academic subjects. But again, it's in a short-term program. All right. So this is not for those students who have been living in the U.S., who have a different language spoken at home, and are now transitioning into school. This is not for that student. A newcomer center truly is for those populations who have simply come from somewhere else to the U.S. and are enrolling in a U.S. school really for the first time, or have not really been acculturated to the U.S. Okay? So these might be refugee students. They might simply be families who have moved from a different country to here. But a newcomer center really truly is for those folks new to the U.S., new to the English language. Some students may stay there for only a month. Some students may have a longer transition time. Okay? This one really truly depends on how the student is adjusting to life in the U.S. and life in English. That's going to determine how long they stay in the program. Okay? Second one, self-contained. In your regular school building, in my little classroom, I have my ESL students. And while we may go out for art, music, physical education, my instructional time is in my ESL classroom. Just like I would say I have a self-contained third grade classroom, and we leave our doors for recess, and we leave our doors for art sometimes, and music sometimes. Okay? Same thing with the self-contained ESL classroom. The self-contained classroom is going to be in my building. The newcomer center may or may not be in the school building that the students are actually going to transition out into. The newcomer center may be at a different location. There's your other distinction. Okay? But self-contained is really truly just like the training that you're getting right now here at Eastern. You're being trained for probably a self-contained classroom. Yes, sir?
How many different grade levels would be in one classroom?
Yeah, good question. In a newcomer center, spans the grade levels. Okay? The ones that I'm most familiar with, try to keep it within like a K-5 environment, a 6-8 environment, a high school environment. Just because you're going to relate to those students better too. Okay? A self-contained classroom generally doesn't go beyond about 2 or 3 grade levels. Because again, you're looking at content instruction. So if my school doesn't do any type of looping, or it doesn't do a multi-grade classroom, I'm probably going to be single graded. But again, I have to have the number of students in order to do these programs. So if I don't have the number of students at my attendance center, I probably don't have these more intense kind of programs. Okay? If I meet that 20, and I've got them spread across K-5, there may be a time that I am actually going to pull out. Ooh, have we gotten to that term yet? I might pull out some of these students to come into the self-contained classroom for a few things. But my core group of people wouldn't ever leave. Okay? Okay, so these are our first two, and these are two of the more intense kind of programming where the students really don't get spread out into the general population just yet. Okay? These two are also pretty heavy-duty, intense. Name probably gives it away. Sheltered English instruction. Okay? Long definition, we'll hit the highlights. Represents an approach to make grade level academic content more understandable for ELL, while promoting English language development. Yay. Okay? Here's one of the key phrases. Although the acquisition of English language proficiency is a goal of sheltered English programs, instruction focuses on content rather than the language. So for students who need to get caught up in their content areas, I may be using a combination of English, home language, those type of things. There are certain strategies, though, that are going to be familiar to sheltered English instruction. Okay? And those things are different techniques and materials, overviews, clarification, repetition, visual aids. Again, you've probably heard about different kinds of learners. We're going to take that into the ESL classroom here. And sheltered English instruction is going to try to bring in as many of the multiple intelligences, okay, not that we don't in a normal classroom anyway, but in a sheltered English instruction classroom, we're hitting as many modes of learning as we can to try to get content across to the students, okay? So there are going to be different strategies that we try to use. We're going to do lots of visual, lots of auditory, lots of kinesthetic, okay? Might be a new term for you, realia. Think of the first part of that word, real. will bring in the real objects that they can touch and then possibly translate back and forth from the different languages. Okay. So we're going to try to do all of these different types of things to promote content learning, English learning, but again, content is the big important piece right here. We want to make sure that the students are at grade level in the content and not falling behind. Okay. The second one is very similar, structured English immersion. ESL teachers or bilingual instructional aides provide linguistic and academic support to ELLs. Typically, this is in the elementary grades. Okay? It attempts to provide students bilingual teachers in a self-contained classroom. Okay? But the language of the classroom is English. Okay, let's try to rephrase that now. My instruction is in English, but I have bilingual assistants in my classroom so that if I need to help the student understand the concept, I can explain it in their native language. But the general instruction is going to be in English. Or if there's a word that they just can't get, but they can tell it to me in their native language, I can then give them that word in English so that they can keep going on. Okay? That's the word immersion. Immersion in any definition is going to be the fact that the child is hearing English, pretty much English only in the classroom. It's when they need assistance that we're going to pick up that native language again. Okay. But all of instruction is going to be in English. Okay, education. The education is in the child's native language for an extended duration, accompanied by some English. Okay. This program is a bit different in that it develops fluency and literacy, you can follow along the definition there, in the native language and in English. So your developmental bilingual education program, kind of like this one, means that I'm not going to forget about my students' native language. I want to develop the native language that they have heard and listened to for how many years, depending upon what grade level they are. So I'm going to develop both languages so that they will become bilingual, fluent bilingual. Okay? And for me, this one is very nice because it gives respect to that first language. That obviously the family is probably still speaking at home, so we don't want to lose that piece. What we're saying is that your native language is important, and so let's develop those skills, and then we'll be picking up English as well. And what some research has found is that if we develop the student's first language, and we are able to get them to a proficient level in their native language, they actually will transition better to English, because they now know the structure of language in native language, and can apply that to the new language that they're learning, which would be English. Okay? So that's a pretty cool program. Heritage language is different only in that a heritage language would be considered one that may not be spoken as often. Okay, so we're trying to reclaim it. So for instance, when we talk about heritage languages in our schools, we're really going to look at some of the Native American languages that have died off a little bit, and we're trying to get them back into circulation, if you will. When we talk about heritage languages, we don't necessarily see a lot of that here in Illinois. Okay? And I'll show you the list of languages that we actually have. Heritage language programs are not used as frequently just because we don't necessarily have the population. Okay? But if you go to some other states, you might see heritage language programs very, very much in place in schools. Okay? All right. Here we go to some more of the programmatic kind of things, the services that we might see. Content area tutoring. Think of the word tutoring. Same thing. It's just with ESL students. Okay? So for those students who need individual or small group help in a particular content area, it's more than likely going to be either pulling out or after school or before school that the tutoring is going to occur. Okay? It's generally provided by teachers, not necessarily the ESL or bilingual. It really is simply an extra session that is set up for those who need help. Okay? Content-based ESL, similar. English is taught in and through the content areas. Teachers must be bilingual, depending upon the grade level serves. Okay? Because what we're going to do with content-based ESL is very similar to a push-in, where we're going to have the students in the classroom, possibly with an ESL or bilingual assistant for when it is necessary. Content-based ESL. Okay. So we're going to see these a little bit more in the upper grades, simply because we're going to get more heavy into the content areas. Inclusionary support, it's really the same type of terminology as we would hear from special education. Okay. ELL students are together with their native English-speaking peers in the same classroom, but they have an assistant who's with them. It's no more difficult than that. Okay. They just have someone who's going to be with them. Okay. All right. Pull out. Individual support. Here you go. This involves pulling out students from the regular classroom for small group tutoring, or small groups. And I have a little example to show you here. And show you quick. Right. And this woman's going to talk to us about reading and recovery with ESL. Okay.
There's ELL students who are in a regular classroom, even though they're not really that proficient in English, but they are in a regular classroom where the teacher is only teaching language arts or literacy in English. And so it's challenging because their native language is Spanish. And when you're teaching them in English only, since they're receiving language arts and reading in English, you have to do reading recovery in English. But yet their native language is Spanish. So as you're teaching, you have to teach with that in mind, thinking that you have to develop their language, that maybe you have to have more conversation with them. And there's sometimes the structures in the story, since they're in English, they might not understand exactly what it sounds, it doesn't sound right to them. So yes, there's quite a few challenges to teach reading recovery to a bilingual student who is in English, receiving only that English, literacy in English. And I'm an ELL student too, because I learned English when I came from Cuba when I was 14, so I learned English here. And that's one of the characteristics of ELL students who are learning English. They sometimes, like you thinking that you can speak and you know what you want to say, but you're never sure that it's going to come out right. So they go through a silent stage where if they get confident, then they'll speak more. Well, when I was a teacher, reading recovery.
Okay. So some of the challenges when we talk about the pullout, it's not necessarily because it's a pullout. It's possibly because the student is receiving that instruction in English and is a little bit lost. And so when we do our pullout instruction, we need to know what's going on in the classroom. Okay, so that's why reading recovery is just one example. We need to be able to support that student in possibly not understanding what actually was going on in the classroom. And so we're going to pick up on that, as well as hitting on the information that we needed to cover during whatever instructional phase we were actually pulling them out for. Okay? So the pull-out services is a good thing. What we need to remember is that what you have planned for that day may not actually be what you get to, because the student may have other questions based on information that was put forth in class to them that they don't understand. Okay, so that's pull-out individual support. Pull-out ESL, very similar, except that they're going to be taken out for either content-based ESL instruction, other types of language skill development. Okay. So pull-out ESL, team teaching and co-teaching. We could have a classroom that has a good mix of ESL students with English students. Okay? And so we might see that a bilingual or ESL teacher comes in to co-teach or to team teach. Always provides a nice service there. All right, so let's get back to, let's go back to the slideshow. Okay. So is there anything else? Two-way immersion programs, I would actually have to say are my favorite. We usually don't see two-way immersion programs except for in the elementary grades that might progress up. But because we are asking students to be bilingual at the end of a two-way dual immersion program, we usually start these in kindergarten and first grade. Rarely do we allow students to come in after that unless they're moving in from a district that they were also in that type of program. Because a two-way immersion program means that I generally want to have about 50-50 split on students who speak the native language, the target language for the bilingualism, and 50% who are English natives. And what happens is that I spend a portion of my day teaching in targeted language and half of my day teaching in English, so that my students are masters at one part of the day and then get to help each other during the other part of the day, as well as having the ESL assistants or bilingual teachers or whoever might be in the classroom. Okay. By the end of the program, which is generally 5th grade, we have students who are bilingual, who have had enough instruction throughout those then 5 to 6 years to become proficient in both languages. We do have some districts now where the parents have said, I don't want to stop at 5th grade. We want to continue the bilingual education. And so it's taken some time, but districts are now putting together programs for the middle level, for 6th, 7th, and 8th. For those parents and students who said, yes, we want to continue, okay? The students can now continue on in that dual language program through middle school, which is kind of cool. Okay. So this program is not as prevalent. There are only a few different programs in the state of Illinois. The 2 languages that are used in the state of Illinois are Spanish and Japanese. Those are the ones that are in our public schools right now, Spanish and Japanese. Okay? So, how long do you stay in a program? Well, it depends. There are different levels of proficiency, and in order to exit a program, you have to meet a certain proficiency level, somewhere between level 4 and 5. We're going to get into the levels. Okay? But you can see that students do exit programs even though they're not proficient. If you take a look down here, 88% have left a program in less than 1 year and are not proficient. Can you think of why a student might leave a program before they're proficient? They move. That accounts for a huge portion of this one. Okay? We have a couple of ideas. Students move. Parents can choose whether or not to include the student in bilingual education or ESL instruction. Just because you are identified as an ESL student, the parent still has the right to choose whether or not to include the child in the instructional process. Okay? The parent can say, no, I want my child in the English-speaking classroom only. No services. That's their choice. So even if they've been in the program for a year, they can decide to come out, even though they're not considered proficient. Okay, so we still have some parent rights that are involved in this one. But you can see if we are able to keep them in the program and they receive services over a period of time, we do have our proficiency levels going up. Okay, here's your heavy hitter. For those programs that have 45 or more students, they are held to accountability measures, AMAOs. Okay. Annual Measurable Achievement Objectives. There are 3 objectives. Okay. Take a look. Progress in the English language. The students must be showing progress. English language proficiency. They must attain proficiency. Okay. So there's the difference. Progress. You've got to have some students who are progressing. Proficiency. Certain population. And finally, AYP. Because remember, this is an NCLB Title III accountability piece. So for those programs who have 45 or more students and are a Title III funded, we're not going to get into that piece, Title III funded program, they must meet these standards every year. Okay. And if you look at the AYP, that's your general stuff, the ISAT, Prairie State Exam, those kind of things. Okay. They do this through the access test. What's the access test? Well, Illinois School Code requires that districts assess the English language learners annually. Okay? And this is going to be for their proficiency. Access stands for Assessing Comprehension and Communication in English State to State. This is a test that is used across the country. It's from the LEADA Consortium. If you want to look those guys up, go ahead. Okay? world-class instructional design assessment. There are scaled scores that determine the student's level of proficiency. And here are those levels. Okay? Here, at the bottom, we have level 1, which is entering. Really, truly, when the student has very little English, is first learning the language. And then we transverse all the way up to beginning, developing, expanding, bridging, and reaching. Now remember, folks in expanding, between expanding and bridging, can exit the program with proficiency. Okay? So if you take a look at those definitions, in level 4, expanding, they could have specific and some technical language of the content areas. Some, catch that word. Variety of sentence lengths and varying linguistic complexity in oral discourse or multiple related sentences or paragraphs. Oral or written language with minimal phonological, syntactic, or semantic errors. Folks, some of our English language natives will have trouble meeting some of these higher levels because they still make grammar errors and they still have problems with sentences and they still aren't fluent when they read at various grade levels. Okay? So when we get to the top rows of this standard, we're going to see that they're really saying these folks look just like their English native counterparts. Okay? So students between 4 and 5 can then exit program and be declared proficient. Okay. So what's happening in our local schools? Well, let me show you. We've got some of our local schools that are represented with some English language learners. That's already nice and wide. Okay, so in Arcola, Arcola is one of our local districts. Okay, Arcola has Spanish-speaking, 68 students within their district, 1 student who speaks a different language, so they have a total of 69 students. If these students were at 1 attendance center, here's your pop quiz, would the school be required to provide a TBE, or would they be able to elect to have a TPI? So is your answer TBE or TPI? TBE. TBE, good answer. Because again, what was that magic number they had to hit? 20. Okay, so they have 68 students. Chances are they've got 20 in 1 attendance center. So they probably do offer some type of TBE. Okay, let's move on to Champaign and Charleston. Okay, we see that Champaign, okay, this one's easy. Champaign has 301 Spanish-speaking students, 357 who speak a different language, for a total of 658. Now here's the thing. They didn't break down this 357. That might represent 20 different languages. You never know. Okay? But chances are, they've got a TBE, at least in Spanish, and possibly some other languages. They would have TBE that they must do if they've got more than 20 students that speak a particular language at a certain attendance center. There's lots of those prerequisites for getting to that space, but with 357 students, probably, and I highlighted the wrong row. Charleston has 4, 12 total for a different language. Ooh, 16 students in the district. What kind of program might they offer? TPI. TPI, because they don't even make it totally district-wide for the number of students. Okay? We'll get you one more. We'll get you Mattoon, because that's nice and close to. And hopefully I highlighted the right one. Okay? Mattoon, which is where one of your speakers for today is going to be coming from, has 17 Spanish-speaking, 2 other language, 19 total. So when Ms. Cloud talks to you today, is she going to be from a TBE or a TPI standpoint?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we've got it. All right. So that brings us to the next question of, and actually I'm not going to share the slide because I'll just have to turn this back on. What languages do you think are out there right now? Okay, what would be the first commonly? Spanish. Good, good, good. What do you think comes next? If Spanish is number 1, okay? Number 1 It's definitely Spanish.
In the state of Illinois.
In the state of Illinois.
Polish.
Huh, you guys are good. Polish.
Arabic.
Wow. You're cheating, aren't you?
Japanese.
Nope.
Chinese.
Actually isn't. Chinese does not count, and here's why. It should, but because there's Mandarin and Cantonese, they count as two different language groups. It's not. Because they had to split, they're not high enough. If we looked at Chinese as itself, yes, but
Russian.
it is, almost. They don't quite make it. Okay. Arabic, you were correct, at 4,225. Okay. Spanish, no, I'm off the charts. There we go. Back it up just a little bit. Okay. Spanish has a whopping 147,664, I believe is that number, at 80% of our students in our schools speak Spanish. Okay. Now, the one that you didn't necessarily guess, surprise, surprise. Okay. Gujarati, it's an Indian language. Urdu, and finally, Filipino, Tagalog. Okay? Those are our top 6 in the state of Illinois. How many are you proficient in? And that's why I say, I do have my ESL endorsement, but I'm not proficient in any of those top 6 languages. But I don't need to be, as long as I have the skills and strategies to know how to reach students who are proficient in those languages. And I'm going to do that through the different types of programming that we have here. Okay, it's bingo time. Are you ready? Okay. Take out your bingo board and markers, and let's get back to okay. All right, we've got about 15 minutes or so to play. Today you are playing bingo for the Star Student Flag Stamper, Word Builder Sticky Notes, super sticky even, Alphabet Bingo, or name cards, or sentence strips, or, I don't know, get creative, use them how you want. Outstanding students. Do you need to recognize your students for doing so well? Yes, you do. Okay? When you achieve bingoage, you may come up and select whatever you would like after we have verified that you did indeed bingo. Are you ready? Mark your free space. We'll get the sombrero, and here we go. The first bingo marker would be on the instrument that must be given to all newly enrolled students in your district. You may or may not have it, because I actually have more terms than what fits on your box. This is the acronym for Annual Measurable Achievement Objectives. Some of these will be fairly simple. Others, you're going to have to remember.
If there's numbers that
Nope, if there's a number after it, that means which standard is it. Okay. This is a large-scale test for K through 12 ELL students that all districts use to annually assess the English language proficiency of all enrolled students, grades K through 12, until they achieve a proficient score. All right. Next. The student, oh, this one's going to be tricky. The student is removed from the general education class for special instruction in ESL.
choosing what class is it? Say it again.
Which program is this?
Oh.
The student is removed from the general education classroom for special instruction in ESL. I'm giving you that little hint there. Which again, you may not have it on there. And it's not the generic term, it's the specific term.
Okay.
Okay. Individual or small group instruction to ELLs during the school day in addition to regular class instruction. In addition to regular class instruction. It may be in the content areas and generally provided by the classroom teacher, not the ESL or bilingual assistant. Oh, it's a number. It's a minimum number of students tested in order for the AMAO to be required. Wow, what a coincidence. English language proficiency. It's a standard. I'll give you that hint. So no bingos yet. Okay. All right, what is an acronym for limited English proficient? Recent immigrants with gaps in their education receive instruction in ESL, acculturation, and academic subjects in a short-term program. Which program is that?
Can you say it again?
Sure.
Sorry.
Recent immigrants with gaps in their education receive instruction in ESL, acculturation, and academic subjects in a short-term program. Ooh. I'll give you a hint. It's a proficiency level. Expanding. Remember which proficiency level that is?
Take a guess.
Ooh, it's another proficiency level. Developing. How are you developing? All right, here's one of your big daddies. You should know this one. 20 or more students of the same non-English language are enrolled in the same attendance center. What program does this describe?
Say it again.
I'm sorry. That's because we have so little time. 20 or more students of the same non-English language are enrolled in the same attendance center.
I think I have a bingo.
Yes. All right.
I don't know
One
if I
person
have.
give it to me first.
Go quick, go quick.
I can go.
Okay.
Go ahead. Access test,
Yes.
level 3 proficiency,
Yes.
my free space, newcomer center,
Yes.
and TBE.
And CBE.
I got the same one. I got the same one.
Yeah, there are a couple of cards that duplicated.
Oh,
Come on up. Pick a bingo prize.
Actually, one's
All right. And we do have 5 minutes left, so we can go on with another one. The same things are going back in, so in case you have it, they might come back. Especially if you were really, really close.
Do we play our cards then? Yeah, I'm sure, but I don't know.
Okay, tell us.
I'm kind of scared.
Okay.
Pushing.
Push in is not.
That was the last one. Sure.
Okay.
Never mind.
Okay. No, that one was pull out ESL. Possibly.
Are we clearing our cards then?
Yes, clear your board. We will start over. And those who won could win again. There are no exclusions in this class. Everybody can come. All right, here we go. Oh, we're going to start with an easy one. This is the acronym for English Language Learner.
Oh my God, what is it?
Oh, and we've got a repeat. So if you got it last time, here you go. Instrument must be given to all newly enrolled students. What instrument must be given? Ready? 19 or fewer students from any one non-English language English language. Instruction or other assistance in students' home language is necessary as determined by the student's level of proficiency in English. Oh, another new one for us. Program that uses the non-English language background of the student as the primary language of instruction, here's your key, to renew or reclaim that language. Remember which one was to reclaim a language that wasn't spoken a whole lot anymore? Okay. Oh, all right. Progress in the English language. It's a standard. Programs in which ESL teachers or bilingual instructional aides provide linguistic and academic support to ELLs. Typically employed in elementary grades, this program attempts to provide students bilingual teachers in a self-contained classroom, but it's not the self-contained classroom. 3 words. Okay. Here's a generic definition. LEP students are pulled out of the mainstream classroom to receive ESL or bilingual content instruction. It gave you the answer in there. Did you listen?
You say it one more time.
LEP students are usually pulled out of the mainstream classroom maximum number of students before TBE is mandated? So what's the maximum number of students you can have before you must offer a TBE program? It's another standard. Adequate yearly progress.
That was the trick question, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a standard. I'll give you a hint. It has 4 initials and a number. Okay. Bilingual or ESL teacher provides instruction together with a mainstream teacher. Together with a mainstream teacher. Oh, we've had this one before. Recent immigrants with gaps in their education receive instruction in ESL, acculturation, and academic subjects in a short-term program. Recent immigrants, short-term program. We'll pick the one that's on the floor. All right, this one is, ELLs receive instruction in a specific classroom for typically more than 50% of the day, but may be integrated into the general ed classes for art, music, physical education. No bingo section. Okay. And onward we go. Oh, it's a number. Minimum number of students which mandates that districts offer a TBE program. So if you didn't have the first one right, you probably do now.
I think I have a bingo.
Seriously, Cindy?
Yeah. Well, I think I got one of them wrong, so.
Okay.
Is the number 19?
The number is 19.
Did you say heritage language?
I did.
Access test?
No.
Oh. Okay.
No
then I get
access
it.
test. Okay.
I lied, sorry.
So don't clear your board. Oh, it's another number. Hope you like numbers. The number of school districts with ELL programming in 2005. 2005. And remember that it doubled in 2010. Maybe that'll help you. Okay, we had this one last time. Individual or small group instruction to ELLs during the school day in addition to regular class instruction, generally provided by the classroom teacher, not the ESL teacher. That one. Okay. It's a proficiency level. Expanding. Oh, it's another number. Number of school districts with ELL programming in 2010. So if you were wrong the first time, you might be right this time. Okay, what do you think? 1101 is not. Yeah.
I might have one, I don't know.
Okay.
Heritage language?
Yep.
20?
Yep.
Pull out individual support? Okay.
I think I do.
Okay.
TPI,
TPI.
both for free space, heritage language, and 20.
Yes, we've got a winner. Come on up. Your choices now are between the sentence strips, the star student, and the outstanding student forms. All right, I think we're out of time. I think we were done actually 2 minutes ago. Anybody check? Oh, it's in here. All right, are we done? Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for coming today. I hope you learned a lot about the different kind of programming that's out there, what it might take to get that programming after school, how they work a little bit. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me. If you have it on the flyer presentation, send me an email and I'll send you right back with the presentation. Would you please make sure all your little scraps of paper go into the trash can? Thanks so much, everybody. And don't forget to pick up your lunch card now, because you get a chance to sign up.